March is a big month for Verity Media and social media magic. We have all kinds of awesome events going on to help you up your social media marketing game. And now more than ever, with the acquisition of TPT by IXL, all of the algorithm issues, and just the host of problems and changes that are coming with running an online business, it is more important than ever to have ways to build funnels and drive traffic to your offers that are either hosted on your website or at least hosted on a platform you can control. And that is a big focus. We're going to show you how to do that with Instagram throughout the month of March. You can come join one of our 30-minute workshops. They're only $7, they're pitch free, and you'll come away with tangible, practical tips. And if you're in the content club, you get an even better deal because you get access to all of these recordings from the workshops in the Value Vault. If you're not already in the content club, just DM me content on Instagram and I'll show you where to go and how to join. We'd love to see you in there. We also have a 3-day challenge happening March 28th through 30th, 2023. So if you're not sure what you need to focus on yet when it comes to your Instagram marketing, the challenge will be great because we're going to go over the foundations of setting up and optimizing your profile and helping you figure out exactly what to post and when to start driving traffic to your resources with Instagram. Are you ready? You can find all of the information in the show notes of this episode, or you can DM me on Instagram over at Brittany Verlenich. Now let's get on with the show. Hello and welcome to the Social Media Magic Podcast, the perfect podcast for TPT sellers, teacherpreneurs, and teacher business owners who consider themselves to be introverts. Each episode shares all kinds of ideas, tips, tactics, and strategies to help you make more sales and grow your community on social media. Without further ado, let's get on to today's episode. Welcome back to the Social Media Magic Podcast. My name is Brittany Verlenich. I'm so glad you're here because today I am sharing my thoughts on why Instagram is actually the perfect platform for introverts. I have heard so many people say that you should pick a social media platform based on your personality or based on the skills you have or based on whether you like taking pictures or creating video. Well, there's a few reasons why that doesn't really work anymore, and I'll get into why, but I want to make the case that Instagram is actually the perfect platform for introverts. And before I hear anyone saying in their head, yeah, but Brittany, you're pretty extroverted, you're outgoing, you're gregarious, you network and stuff. Yes, that's true. And because of this extrovert superpower I have, I attract a lot of introverts. It's almost like how you see those memes about introverts being quote unquote adopted. I don't know why, but almost all of my clients, all of my customers, even the travel agent stuff I do, my clients are always introverts. And so I've learned a lot about what makes introverts tick, helps them be successful. And I have found that Instagram is a really great platform and tool for that. So let's get started, shall we? Let's first debunk a couple of those myths about choosing a platform by your skill. So it used to be, even 2 years ago, that every platform was really different and unique because of what it offered. If you wanted audio only, you would go to Clubhouse. If you wanted video only, you went to TikTok. If you wanted photos only, you did Instagram, and if you just wanted to get right to the links, then you'd go to Pinterest. But I think we've all seen the evolution that these different platforms have had, and I know it's debatable. Is Pinterest a social media platform? Just for all intents and purposes, let's say it is for this episode. But the point that I'm really driving home is Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, pretty much all of them but Clubhouse are now integrating video. And also Clubhouse isn't as big as it was, right? Because most of us, at least in the United States, in Canada, in Western Europe, in Australia, we've all kind of resumed our lives. We're all back at work. We don't all have the hours and hours a day that we had at the beginning of the pandemic to be able to be on Clubhouse, right? So that one's kind of out, but I'm not saying it's totally out because I do have someone coming to talk about Clubhouse soon. But I'm saying as far as where you can spend most of your time, where you're going to get the most bang for your buck, unless you're a coach or a service provider, maybe Clubhouse. But we're talking mostly about TPT sellers, digital products, maybe some of you have courses and memberships. So when we're talking about skill as far as creating engaging content, I don't want to say that you have to create video, but I kind of do want to say you have to create video, at least to a degree. It doesn't mean that you have to be in the video. It doesn't mean that you have to have your face in them or that you have to be dancing or singing or lip syncing. But to some extent, video content is here to stay, whether you're doing short form video like YouTube Shorts, Reels, and TikToks, or whether you're doing longer form videos like the horizontal ones that you see on YouTube. Yeah, I would say that we've debunked that. You have to have some video skills. You have to have some image skills, right? I mean, even if we're doing photo previews on TPT, we have to have image skills and some light editing skills. We have to have video skills for those video previews. That's just a fact now. So we can go ahead and debunk that myth about picking a platform based on the skill you have or the kind of content you'd like to create to a degree. I will say when it comes to long form content, like choosing to do a blog, a YouTube channel, or a podcast, then you probably want to think of how you prefer to show up most. But again, I would kind of argue that if you start with video, it's really easy to repurpose, right? Because if you start with a YouTube channel, for example, or a video podcast, you can repurpose the audio for podcasts, you can repurpose the transcript for blog posts and social media captions, and so on. So let's move on to the next stop about personality. So I hear a lot that social media is for extroverted people. If you think about how people typically live their lives, like we as entrepreneurs, at least online business owners, we're in this really weird bubble, right? I mean, especially TPT sellers and teacherpreneurs, we're in this even smaller bubble where we're all in kind of this echo chamber of either being current or former teachers. You step outside that a little bit and you get in this online entrepreneur bubble, it's still pretty much a bubble, right? It can be easy to lose sight of what normal everyday life looks like. And for this, I'm so glad that I have my husband. I like to joke and say that he's a normie. He has a kind of corporate 9 to 5 job now. He loves it. He's the kind of person that like he really thrives on having that routine and he knows where he's going to be. He does a little bit of travel, but he likes being able to be in his own home at the end of the day. He likes knowing what his paycheck's going to be, and that's fine for him. People who are not having businesses, they're using social media too, but that is not the only way they interact. They go to in person conferences, they go out to a pub or a bar for a drink. You see what I'm saying? That there are so many ways to interact. And so if you're an extrovert, more than likely you're not spending as much time online as an introvert. I'm just saying in general, okay? Generalities, we always have to remember that they could be wrong and that there's always an exception to every rule. When I think about how I like to spend my time, I do a lot of traveling and networking in person and conferences and stuff. I love it. I really thrive in person. It's been on my mind that really in 2024, especially, I want to go all in with in person stuff. And I've already kind of gone onto that in 2023. And I am an extrovert. But if you think about it, it makes sense that so many online business owners are already introverted. And so I think for someone to say that a certain platform doesn't work for you because of your personality, I think that one, that's a little bit short sighted because we're not really thinking about the volume of people who are in the world and the volume of different types of online business owners there are and the different ways to use a platform. Because at the end of the day, a platform is just a tool. And you can choose to be as visible or as invisible as you want in your business. There are so many successful sellers on platforms like Teachers Pay Teachers, Made by Teachers, Classful, Amazon, Etsy, eBay, even that never really create a personal brand. And I'm not saying you have to, but I do think that once you do, you open up all kinds of other opportunities that you wouldn't have had otherwise. So obviously, I'm pro visibility, but you don't have to do it in the same way that an extrovert would. So with Instagram, you could use Instagram in a way where you never show your face. You can create faceless reels. You can create stories where you share bits about your life, but that you don't even necessarily show your face. You can make reels where you just do voiceovers if you have a really powerful voice. When you're using Instagram, you get to pick your path. You can choose that you're only doing a static grid and that you're going to show up in your stories. You can choose a static grid in reels. You can choose that you're going to mostly do photo posts and carousel style posts, and that you're going to really go into the written word and kind of have it be like a microblog. You get to pick your path when it comes to Instagram. And I think that my favorite part of working with clients, although of course I love the self-expression, I love the creativity, is helping them choose how they're going to show up and show out and shine on the platform. And you can absolutely shine without showing your face if you want to. I'm always going to encourage it, but you get to choose at the end of the day. Another thing that we don't think about when we think about the actual definition of introvert, a lot of times we like to bring other definitions into that. So when someone says I'm an introvert, they often sometimes mean, oh, I'm shy, oh, I'm reserved. Like these are all very different words. Because see, I'm outgoing and I'm friendly, but I'm not like that 100% of the time. In fact, when I go into a room full of people I don't know, especially if it's not an environment I'm super comfortable with, I am pretty reserved at first because I'm feeling people out. I'm seeing how people are acting. I'm checking the vibes of the room, okay? And then I decide how hard I want to go or if I just want to stay with the crew that I came with. We like to bring a lot of these things into the word introvert, but when I'm talking about introvert, I mean the sense of the word in how we regain or gain energy. And I even want to say here that introversion and extroversion, so we get really controversial, is a theory. It's never been proven to be true. A lot of people resonate with the language of introvert or extrovert based on just the culture that we're in. It's kind of like learning styles with teaching. We've just accepted it and we've accepted it into our vernacular over time. But when I talk about being an introvert or introversion or extroversion, I'm talking about how we gain energy. And the difference between introverts and extroverts, of course, it's a scale, right? It's not 100% of either. And most people fall pretty much in the middle. So you'll hear like someone say, I'm an ambivert or I'm an introverted extrovert, right? What it really means is just where and how you get your energy. If you get your energy from being around lots of people or being around people, then you're more extroverted. And if being around other people tends to drain you, then you're more introverted. You need more alone time. I don't know about this one because I'm an extrovert. I would say I am anyway, but I need a lot more alone time than I think other people do. And there's so many theories behind this. I was also raised an only child. There's so many things that could go into this. But the point is that when we create content, if we're looking at the true definition of introversion and extroversion, most of the time you're alone. So if you're alone, then actually content creation is perfect for introverted people and even shy people because you don't really ever have to leave your house for the most part, depending on what kind of content you're creating, unless you're like a travel blogger. So you can start to see where this argument that Instagram isn't great for introverts kind of gets debunked and where we can start to see this actually as the perfect platform for introverted people. Another word that gets brought into the fold of introversion, the definition of, is honestly kind of geekiness or nerdiness. We have this idea that extroverts can't be geeky, almost like it kind of makes you think of like those 90s and early 2000s movies where you have like the jocks wearing these football Letterman jerseys, and then you have the cheerleaders, and then you have the nerds, quote unquote, whatever. But it's not like that. If anything, nerdiness and geekiness, and I would even say introversion, is actually in. It's the norm now, at least in the online business space. But the really cool thing about Instagram or really any social media platform is you get to nerd out and geek out whatever you love as much as you want. And the people who resonate with you and love what you love are going to find you and they're going to geek out about it with you. That is such a cool thing. That is such a gift that I think the internet has brought us that would have been so hard for us before. Quick story time. I went to NAU, Northern Arizona University. I did things a little bit non-traditionally. I went and worked full time first before going to college. I did some community college classes, but before I went to university, I also did several seasonal jobs. I traveled all over the United States. I've worked at a summer camp in Hawaii. I worked at an outdoor school near San Francisco. I worked at a flower farm in Virginia. I've had all these cool, fun jobs because I love experiences. It's one of the reasons I love travel. It's one of the reasons I love talking to people. When I went to NAU, I felt like a little bit nervous and apprehensive because I'd never been in an environment where there were so many people. I mean, NAU is one of the smaller universities, and at the time it had 17,000 people, and I was really nervous about that. My community college had only had like 5,000, and every other place that I went and lived in had a really small micro community that I just integrated into seamlessly. But I found out that my college had an anime club. And I was so excited. And I remember like meeting these people and thinking, oh my gosh, you guys like anime too. So do I. And I started listing off all the shows I was watching, and they were into it too. And I remember at the time someone saying, like, oh, how long have you been into anime? Because we have this weird idea that if someone dresses or looks a certain way, they can't like a certain thing. I was also really outdoorsy and super fit at the time. I was like hiking 6, 7, 10 miles a day, all this stuff. I mean, not that that matters, but just to give you a picture. So I was in really good shape. And I didn't just hang out with the anime club. I hung out with the rock climbers. I hung out with the outdoor people because I had a Parks and Rec degree. I was hanging out with the hospitality and tourism people. And I remember people thinking that I couldn't possibly like anime because I didn't look the part, quote unquote, look the part. And I was like, what does that mean? And I thought it was so funny and interesting that this group of people who maybe classically would have been defined as nerdy were ironically kind of judging me too and thinking I couldn't possibly like what they liked because I didn't look like them. I thought that was so fascinating and interesting. And so I think we go back to this introvert debate of, well, if you don't use it like I use it, you can't possibly be introverted. Or if you're an introvert, you can't do XYZ. But I think we're just putting a whole bunch of limits on ourselves. And also, I think if we're being really honest, we're making excuses as to why we're not getting more visible. So I've already given you a few reasons, right, for why Instagram is perfect for introverts. You get to pick your own path. You don't have to show your face if you don't want to. Most of the time, you're alone when you're creating content, and you get to nerd out about whatever you love and geek out about that with other people. But I think the most introvert friendly idea about Instagram is that you get to connect with people on your own terms and timeline. If being with other people truly exhausts you, if keeping a conversation up in real time really tires you out, then DMs are perfect. You don't have to respond when they talk to you right away. You don't have to respond really even certain hours or days. You get to choose. In fact, you can have a business where you hardly ever interact with people via DM or email at all. You get to choose. As long as you set that expectation with your content and you let people know how and when to get a hold of you, you could even set out like out of office away messages on your email, or you could set up saved replies on Instagram to do pretty much the same thing. By the way, did you know that? You can set up a welcome message in your Instagram DMs if you have the feature rolled out so that when people text you or message you, they get a certain response. There's so much you can do with Instagram. It's an amazing platform and tool. And I don't want for you to think that just because you're introverted or just because someone has said it's not for you, that it's not, because that's not true. You get to choose at the end of the day how you do business, how you market your business, how you sell your offers, and all of that. And I don't want for anyone to tell you otherwise. So I hope that I have convinced you that Instagram is a perfect platform for introverts. And I hope that by listening to my other episodes, if you have, that you'll see that Instagram is also a great sales tool. It's not just a place to network and connect and build relationships, although it is great for that. It's a legitimate sales platform. If you haven't already checked it out, I have a course called Instagram for Introverts. I think it'd be perfect for you. You can check that out at the details in my show notes, or you can message me on Instagram, and I will send you the details or answer any questions you have, because I know that courses are big investments. Otherwise, I hope that you love this episode. If you haven't already connected with me on Instagram, I'm Brittany Verlenich on there. As always, links in the show notes. Although if you type in social media magic, you might find me, or just Brittany, BRITTANYVER. You should find me because I know my last name is hard to spell. All right, I hope to see you for the next episode.